Hey everyone, Brayden here coming to you with a breaking Disney news update. Guys, I just rode the Tron Lightcycle Run roller coaster, the newest attraction opening at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. It is opening at the Magic Kingdom. It's located right next to Space Mountain. This is a day 5 years in the making. Here on this channel, I've been covering the construction, the development of this Tron coaster for so long, and today was the day I finally got to ride it. The attraction officially opens to guests on April 4th, but there are over 2 months of previews in advance of that official opening date here for various ticket types. There'll be previews for annual pass holders, DVC members, all sorts of different ticket types. Right now, they are doing cast member previews, and cast members, they can actually bring some folks along with them, friends and such. So thanks to some of our awesome viewers, I was able to ride Tron today with some cast members who invited me, which was so awesome. I was actually able to ride it twice today, which is pretty incredible. So we'll get into all of that. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna show you everything that I saw from the moment I got there to the moment I left. I'm going to show you every square inch of this place, and also I'm going to tell you what I thought about the experience, because there were some highlights and there were also some things where I was like, this is going to be a problem when this opens. It's sort of a situation where the attraction itself is really cool, but everything around the attraction, meaning all the logistics involved, you have to put stuff in lockers. Also, when this opens, there's going to be a virtual queue. There's just a lot of stuff here where I can see it becoming a logistical nightmare for Disney, especially with the experience I had with the lockers. They were not working very well. You have to put everything that you have in lockers before you get on the attraction. The way that the bikes are, you can't have like a backpack on or anything like that. There is a little compartment where you can put your phone or other small items like that, but everything else has to go in lockers. So first off, heading over to Tron, this of course is the preview, so Disney is still working on stuff in the area. They're still doing some construction and final touches. So to get back to Tron, you head down the pathway to the left-hand side of the Space Mountain gift shop, where you exit Space Mountain, and you can see on the side there, they've widened the walkway by shaving off part of the facade of the Space Mountain exit arcade gift shop area, and they're still working on that facade there. So they have rolling planters up. They're still doing some work on that. And then we have the big reveal. So you head under the People Mover track, and then you're on the other side there, and boom, here we are in the Tron area with the Tron sign and all of that. The Tron sign is plenty big here. I was concerned, you know, in Shanghai, they have a giant sign. We didn't get that one here at Walt Disney World. We got updated concept art in 2018 where it was this little planter sign. It looked really small. It's actually pretty large in real life. I got a photo right next to it, and you can see I look pretty tiny next to the Tron sign here. So it actually is pretty large. This area is a great spot to take photos. There was a very orderly line where everyone was waiting in line to take photos with their phones. So I waited in that a couple times. Got some photos of people as well as myself. So really awesome there. When you're looking at that Tron entrance signage, if you look off to the left, that's where you have a pathway leading to Storybook Circus, Fantasyland, all that stuff back there. Disney is restoring that shortcut you used to have between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, where you'll be able to take that pathway back and forth from this area to the Barnstormer area. You can go back and forth. That's a nice little shortcut there, something you should be aware of, and there's a sign there letting you know about it, pointing you towards Storybook Circus. Off to the other side, the right-hand side of the sign, you have some extra signage. You have a height marker for kids to make sure they're tall enough to ride. You have the signage where the wait times are going to go, and you have the various ride information and all of that that we see in front of all Disney's attractions. Then it's time to start on your trek up to the Tron canopy, to the Tron area where you actually head towards the attraction itself. This is a massive flyover guest walkway Disney did. This attraction has so much room for queue space. It's not like Guardians. If you guys have been to Guardians in Epcot, it's a very small indoor queue where there's really not a whole lot of space for people, and I think that's part of the reason why it still has a virtual queue. Tron should be able to hold a standby line very shortly after opening. They probably could open it just with a standby line, but Disney's deciding to do virtual queue and lightning lane to start off, individual lightning lane, but this will definitely be one where in the future, when it has a standby line, there's so much room for queue space and all of that here because it is a massive walkway. So you have the vehicles going overhead, the light cycles, as you can see there, which is so awesome. On the way up, if you look closely, you'll notice the tunnel where the Walt Disney World World Railroad trains head through. It is almost invisible. If you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't even notice it's there. Disney did a really, really good job there blending that into the area. So once you make it up the incline and the guest pathway levels off, directly in front of you, there is an auxiliary building which has restrooms. As you can see here, there is some theming on the exterior of the restrooms area here. You can see we have signage and there's, some hexagon lights and that sort of thing. Inside, it looks like, restrooms you'd see anywhere like at a hotel or whatever. Really not anything too particularly themed there. I know a lot of people are like, Brayden, why did the restrooms need to be themed? I don't know. It's Disney. You kind of expect this sort of stuff, but it is a different Disney these days than in the past. So I digress. Off to the side of the restrooms, you can see the Walt Disney World Railroad where it loads guests at the Storybook Circus station, and then it passes right underneath your feet. It's pretty cool. And as I said, it's shocking how well the Imagineers hid this tunnel. It is not noticeable in the slightest when you're at Tron. And I thought that the train engine, when it passes underneath you, there'd be some sort of vibration or sound or anything like that. No, it is super, super stealth. The only way you even know the train is right under your feet is if you were looking for it and knew that it was right under your feet. So they did a really, really good job on that. Next up, we are heading towards the attraction entrance itself, which is off to the right. Once you get up the incline on the flyover walkway, then you head off to the right to get to the attraction itself. On your way over there, you get this awesome view, which I know they don't have at the Shanghai version of this attraction, where you have our Space Mountain, Walt Disney World Space Mountain, right in front of you. It is a really, really cool view. When I was filming, you can actually see their workers working on Space Mountain. They're stationed all the way up. What they were doing was passing off roofing material to each other to bring it all the way up to the top of Space Mountain. I believe it was roofing material that they were bringing up there. They're doing some work on the roof of Space Mountain. They're also in the process of giving it a nice power wash as well as some new paint, so it'll look good for the media blitz going into Tron, for commercials and all that sort of stuff. Disney wants it to look nice. As far as the condition of Tron, though, the exterior, for a new attraction, it does not look very new on the outside of the Tron Coaster. There are a lot of streaks already visible in the Tron canopy, which has been up there for years now. So frankly, that kind of makes sense, especially since it has that very, very bright white color. As you know, there's a lot of fireworks going off every night over the Magic Kingdom. So I assume on top of the regular Florida, stuff, the mold, whatever's going on that builds up on everything here in Central Florida, on top of that, you also have the ash coming down at the Magic Kingdom. So I assume that's what a lot of that is. Our sources have indicated Disney might try to clean up the Tron canopy before the official opening. It was funny, as I was waiting in line for Tron, we were looking at the aesthetics and a lot of stuff that seemed like a little bit dirty, and someone was like, I feel like this attraction is already like 5 years old. It kind of seems like it's already been around for a while. And I was like, it is 5 years old. They've been building this thing forever. They've been testing it for several years at this point, which is pretty funny because you can definitely tell that a lot of the stuff that you have at Tron has been up for quite a long time. It's already showing a lot of wear and tear as far as the exterior is concerned. So finally getting to the real attraction entrance here. So it's sort of like the second entrance. You can see there is a pair of bikes off to the side where guests who are concerned that they might not fit in the Tron bikes, they can go and test them out before they get in the real line so that they can make sure that they fit in all of that. I know that some guests have already been complaining about the fit with the vehicles. So right there you can double check before entering the queue. And then next you head under the signage for the attraction sponsor. You head right under there, and now you're in the switchbacks before you head into the inside portion of the attraction. So this waiting area, and I know I'm harping on this a lot, but the canopy there, I was looking up at it like the tarp that you have over you. This attraction isn't even open yet, and you have rust that's dripped down. There's all these like weird scratches and like stuff that just looks dirty all over this tarp you have in that area. And then if you look down towards the floor, you have some cool theming elements above you, but if you look downwards, you have exposed electrical conduits, and you can see where the metal poles actually connect with the guest flyover walkway. There should probably be some sort of caps on those, something to make it look a little bit nicer theming wise. Again, I know this is like nitpicking to some people, but this is a theme park. This is stuff that you think Walt would be like, hey guys, get it together. But just saying, I thought that was kind of interesting, the condition of that part of the queue. There are some cool theming elements there that I really liked as well. So, it kind of is what it is, but definitely something to note there. There's just a lot of stuff that seems seems kind of dirty. Again, these are previews, so Disney definitely can just give some of this stuff a wash, but something to note there. So now we're done with the exterior for now. Now it is time to be digitized. So how this works is that you are loaded into a hallway, which has these cool sort of Tron-styled LED light things going on all over the place on the walls, and there's a guy talking. There's like an overhead narration, giving you some, information about like the safety on the ride and all that sort of stuff. And at the end of the hallway, there's a door. So what they do is they load up the hallway, and basically this is the waiting area for the pre-show. So once the previous pre-show is done and the pre-show room is ready, this is similar to what you see at a lot of Disney's recent attractions. Disney's really been putting a lot of effort into these pre-shows, which I really, really like. This pre-show is so short, but it is so cool. I knew before I even got to the attraction that this was going to be one of the major highlights for me. So what you do is you enter this room, and then once everyone's inside the room, you're digitized. So what it does is it does some effects on the screen, and then the opaque screen that looks like a projection screen, it suddenly becomes transparent, and you realize that you are actually standing over the launch area, and you watch one of the vehicles take off with all the guests, all the light cycles go. It is super, super cool. So next what you do is there's a hidden door that opens, and the second time guests didn't notice that the door opened, and there's no cast member in that room, so I was the cast member. I said, guys, you gotta go that way, which is pretty funny. I did the 2-finger point. So after the short pre-show, now you're headed to the load area for the attraction. Now what I would recommend is take your time in this room, because you can just blow right through it trying to get to the ride, but I feel like this is a big part of the experience. The ride itself is very short. It's a minute long. It's a minute runtime from launch to when you're basically done with the attraction. So enjoy as you're going through this queue here. It's part of the attraction. In this area, you're actually walking around the launch area on a balcony that goes around it. You're overlooking the launch area, and it's so, so cool. So take your time and enjoy that. It's really, really awesome. Then you head through a dark room in the queue where there's Tron posters going on and some other stuff. Sort of, I think this is where they're trying to familiarize you with Tron and the theme and what you're doing, that sort of idea. And then you turn the corner, and here we have the lockers. So guys, here's the deal with the lockers. So a cast member is going to tell you anything larger than your phone must go in a locker. You advance to the wall of lockers, and you can pick whichever locker you want, and your magic band or your ticket is supposed to unlock the locker and tie it to you. And then what happens is on the way out, you'll actually be on the other side of these lockers. They're double-sided lockers. You'll be able to scan your magic band or your ticket again and pull your stuff out. Now, the first time I went, we got the locker to work. So the person in my party who had a ticket, he scanned his ticket, and then we put in our stuff, and it was all good. The second time I got to this area where you're supposed to put your stuff in the locker, our ticket would not work. It was not being recognized by the locker. So then we called a cast member over, and she tried it, and it still didn't work. So what she did is she gave us a temporary card, which opens the locker, and then it opens again on the way out, and then you give back the card. She tried to use the temporary card to open the locker, and it still wouldn't work, even with the cards that Disney has specifically designed to open these lockers. Then she tried another, that one didn't work either, and then another. So even Disney's own cards made for this purpose. There just seem to be a lot of technical problems even getting these lockers to open or recognize the RFIDs. So we finally got one of these things open. The lockers themselves, they're pretty medium size, I would say. They look pretty small on video. They're a little larger than you're probably thinking they are. I brought my smaller camera bag, this one, and this fit in, but it was a snug fit. So to give you an idea of scale there, so this is about the size of the locker. If you kind of diagonally drew a box here, that's sort of what you're looking at in terms of the size of the locker. You might need several lockers, if you got a lot of people in your party with bags and stuff like that, no problem. The cast members are very accommodative about this stuff. It's all about just getting your stuff in the lockers because there really isn't a whole lot of room on the ride itself. So that's where I have a little bit of a trick for you guys who are packing light. If all you have is your phone, your wallet, your keys, even sunglasses, all of that will fit in the little compartment in front of you once you're on your ride vehicle. So if you have bags, extra layers of clothes, things that you don't want to take with you on the ride, if you have a bunch of stuff in your pockets, you're probably going to want to lean on the side of caution, put all of that in lockers. But if you just got wallet, keys, sunglasses, phone, I brought my pit vipers on the ride by accident the first time, and these goofy things fit in the vehicle compartment with extra room to spare. And these are pretty big glasses, so if you can avoid dealing with the lockers, do so, because they definitely are an inconvenience that slows things down a bit, but I get why Disney's using them. You know, if you have anything on you that's like, you know, a little bit bigger than sunglasses, you're gonna want all of that in a locker for sure. But if you don't, definitely something that you can skip there. If you just have a couple things that are pretty small, you can put them in the little compartment on the vehicle itself. So once you're past the lockers, it is time to load. And the load area is very cool. It's quite similar in layout to what you have at Guardians in Epcot, where you have loading happening off to each side and you head down a ramp in the middle. It's a really cool room. You've got some similar aesthetics to the load area at Space Mountain. I noticed it's definitely a similar vibe there. Now this load area, loading the attraction, this is where I ran into a lot of problems. And this is some technical type stuff. It's about filming on the ride. So if you don't care at all, just skip ahead. We have chapters down below. So I get to the bottom of the ramp, you know, I'm ready to load the Tron vehicle, and this is what I looked like. I'm trying to film the ride for you guys, right? So I have this goofy thing on, and then the cast member sees me and says, "Sir, you're gonna have to put that in the compartment. There's no filming allowed on this attraction," which is odd because the rule, I believe, is no handheld filming. I spent money getting this GoPro, getting all these mounts so I could record this for you guys. So I say, okay, you know, I get it. They're worried maybe it flies off. You know, it's not going to. I tested it on several high-speed attractions before Tron. It is not going anywhere. It's not flying off, but they think it might do this or something like that. Basically, Disney had an incident on Space Mountain recently where I believe someone's phone flew out of their hand and struck another guest, something like that. So basically, Disney's cracking down on, you know, handheld filming, especially here at Tron, which is a high-speed coaster. So they're definitely erring on the side of caution. So I get it, you know, maybe the head mount doesn't work. So I walk to the vehicle and I switch it up. I say, I'm gonna use a wrist mount. So I'll mount the GoPro on my wrist. And then another cast member, a nicer cast member, she's like, "Hey Brayden, no wrist mounts allowed." And I'm like, come on, man, I've been wanting to film Tron for 5 years. I want to document this ride for my viewers. So I asked her, I said, okay, you know, what about a head mount? I have a head mount. And she said, no, you can't do that. No wrist mount either. And I said, what about a camera on my chest? And she said, yes, that is okay. Well, here's the problem. I brought a chest mount for the GoPro, but it's back in the locker. And the folks who are previewing, they're only allowed one ride. At the time, that was the rule. The cast members could only go through once, the cast members who have a preview spot. So I had to put the GoPro away in the little compartment with my phone, with my pit vipers. All of that fit in the little compartment. So the compartment's actually pretty big in front of you. Not super big. I definitely won't bring anything large, but anything around your phone size or glasses size will definitely fit in there. So my first ride, it isn't documented, unfortunately. I wasn't able to document it. So I was pretty bummed out after that. And on the way out, I let some other creators you guys watch, I made them aware of these rules that were being put in place about, you know, you have to have a chest mount or something like that, or you can't film. I was like, whatever. So, you know, I'm heading out. I take the monorail. I'm heading out to the parking lot. I'm going home. And I run into another viewer who recognizes me, and he's like, hey, you want to ride Tron? So, you know, by the grace of God, I got a second ride on Tron here. So I head back across the Seven Seas Lagoon with some awesome viewers, back to the Magic Kingdom, back to Tron. This time, I am not missing the shot. I am following all the rules exactly to the T. So now I have this goofy thing on. I'm ready to go. I'm at Tron. You guess what happened. You probably already know what happened. The first cast member at the top of the ramp, before I even head down to the load area, says, sir, you have to take that off. No filming allowed. And I tell her, I said, last time I rode, the cast member said, if I wore a chest mount, you know, that's allowed. And she says, well, maybe it is. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure no filming is allowed. So I kept it on. I head down and I get to the vehicle. The ride operator gets off the pedestal, opens the gate, comes over to me and says, sir, no filming allowed. You need to put that in the compartment. And I explain, I said I was told chest mounted is fine. And then she says, no filming allowed. And then another cast member operating the ride, you know, they're trying to move vehicles here, right? They're trying to get good hourly capacity at Tron. It's all about the load time. So all of this is taking up time. She says, yes, chest mounts are allowed, just not head or wrist. So for those of you not planning on filming the ride, I apologize for all this extra information. But for those of you who do want to film the Tron Coaster at the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, I would advise bringing a chest mount for your action camera. I saw people who had handheld pull things going on that they were putting the GoPro on. They were all told to put that in the compartment. They weren't able to film with it. I saw them make people put those away. You can't use your phone to film, nothing in the hand. And even if you're following all the rules and you get all this ridiculous stuff so that it's safe and you can film or whatever, you know, you're still gonna have to fight for the right to film this ride. Because people are gonna say, you know, you can't do that, you can't do this. And of course, it's not the cast members' fault, it's the managers at the attraction. We're still in previews here. obviously they have not gotten all the cast members on the same page as to what the rules even are. Some cast members I know have been allowing guests to handhold 360 cameras out in front of them the entire duration of the ride. And the reason I know that is because you can look it up on YouTube and people have already done that during these previews. Other folks running the attraction are saying you can only wear a chest mount, and then other folks on the attraction are saying no filming is allowed at all. This is a no filming attraction. So it's a mess. So Disney, decide on a rule, put the rules on your website, let people know in advance, because not only are guests not sure what the rules are, neither are the cast members, and Tron's ride capacity is highly reliant on how fast they can load the vehicles. So finally, all the trials and tribulations are behind me. My stuff is in the locker. My phone is in the compartment. It's round 2 on Tron. I've got the GoPro going. So I'll show you guys a little bit of what I got here. I'll show you guys the launch and the outdoor part. It is pretty cool. Here we go.
Initiate in 3, 2, 1.
Guys, so I'm cutting into the audio here. There's a bunch of copyrighted music playing. So what happens here is you're in the interior part of the ride, and I gotta tell you guys, the first time that I rode Tron, I was in one of the further back rows where you can see all the light cycles in front of you, which I highly recommend. It definitely adds an effect where you see all the awesome, vehicles in front of you. It is a very cool effect. But the second time I rode here, which I filmed, you can see I'm in the front row. And what was interesting was the part in the dark. I think it was more fun being up front because it's a lot like Space Mountain where you don't know where you're going next because there's no cars in front of you, there's no train in front of you giving you a hint at where you're going. So you're just sort of going all over the place. It's almost completely pitch black. It is really dark in there. Even the lit up parts, I think they were using black lights or something. It was not very bright. So everything is quite dim in here. Being in the front row definitely adds to that unpredictability, that thrill. So as far as where you should sit, I would recommend not being in the front if you don't want to miss out on the Lightcycle Run aspect. But if you want some added thrill with the indoor portion here in the grid, which takes up the majority of the attraction, I'd highly recommend being up front because it definitely adds some extra enjoyment there. You really can't go wrong. There's definitely some pros and cons depending on where you sit. So no matter where you sit, you're gonna have a good time. So it's a pretty short ride, then it's time to disembark. And the second time I disembarked, I actually forgot to get my phone out of that little compartment, and the train almost went away without me. So I had to run back over, make sure you get everything out of your compartment, everything out of your vehicle. Then you head down some hallways, which do have a little bit of theming. It's pretty minimal, but they do have something. And then you arrive at the backside of the locker area. Now, the first time I went on, my party had no issue getting stuff into the locker, but on the backside, the locker was not recognizing the ticket. So we had to call over a cast member to manually open the locker, and then she had to shield it from us and have us name what was inside to make sure we weren't stealing someone else's stuff. And the second time we didn't have any issue getting stuff out, but we had to use the temporary card. So I think as I've drilled into you guys by now, there's a lot of logistics surrounding this experience with the lockers and the compartments and the rules and the this and the that, and do you fit in the vehicle, and can you hold any, all this sort of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to remember. It is pretty logistically complicated. And then on top of all of that, when this attraction opens, you're gonna have the issue of the added logistics of even getting on the attraction, of course, because it's gonna have virtual queue. So there's a lot of stuff to keep in mind here. So I am pretty glad that I'm doing this video for you guys. I really enjoyed the attraction itself. Some guests told me, put your hands up. That makes it more fun. Don't hold on to the handles like you're told. I held on to the handles the whole time, as you guys saw there, but I did see some guests having a fun time putting their hands up. And I will tell you guys another variable insofar as, like where you should sit, what you should do while you're on the attraction. Also, what time of day should you ride the Tron coaster? I was at the Magic Kingdom last night, and I got to tell you guys, I got some awesome sunset footage here of Cinderella Castle. I will say the Rose Gold Castle does look pretty good around this time, definitely. And I caught Tron as the lights started to get bright and the sun went down and it was dusk. It looked really, really nice. I filmed all this from the treehouse, the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse, a very underrated attraction at the Magic Kingdom. There are some great sights up there. I also got some footage from the People Mover where you can see what the area looks like now that it's all complete or mostly complete, and they have all the lights programs. They actually chase your vehicle as you're going under the canopy. Definitely adds another another element to the experience. And it really does seem like the Tron Coaster was designed in the mindset of guests riding at night, taking advantage of all these LEDs, all this LED technology, and it definitely looks really, really cool. And it's funny because I rode during the daytime twice, and I found the outdoor area to be my favorite part already. So imagine at night with all the lights and stuff. It looks like it's on another level. But back to the logistics here. So this brings up some more problems because, okay, Brayden, you've convinced me I should ride this attraction at night. Well, then it becomes a question of how do you ride the attraction at night, even if you want to ride the attraction at night, because this is virtual queue, right? So everyone's going to be there on the app waiting to hit the button at the exact minute. And so what are you going to do? Pause a few extra seconds and then hit the button? Or should you just try to get a time, make sure that you don't miss out on the experience, hit it exactly when it becomes time to hit that button and get the virtual queue, and then you just miss your window on purpose, hang out throughout the day and then go at night? I'm guessing some guests will try to do that as well. One last logistical element we haven't even mentioned yet, there is an on-ride photo at Tron. Disney says if you want to get your on-ride photo, the way to do it is to have your phone, you put it in that compartment, you need to have Bluetooth on, you need to have the My Disney Experience app signed in, and you cannot be in low battery mode. And if you put your phone in the compartment and all of that, you'll get the ride photo synced to your account. I did that both times. Neither time did I get a ride photo, but again, that might not be functional yet. Again, these are previews. In the future, I believe that there will be an area where you can sync it to your Magic Band afterwards. But currently, when you exit the attraction and you're heading out, it seems like you're going into a backstage area. They're definitely still doing construction in this one little area, which is either for Photo Pass or maybe there's going to be some sort of small gift shop there, or maybe both. They're definitely working on a little area up there that you'll exit through on the way out. And right now, you're sort of cutting out off to the side. But ladies and gentlemen, that was my experience on the Tron Coaster here today. A video many, many years in the making. On the way out, there's an awesome photo spot where the photographer waits till the vehicle is coming right at the camera and then snaps the photo with you with the light cycles rushing by. It's a really, really cool photo op. They also have some cool Tron props that you can work with the PhotoPass photographers and all of that, which is pretty awesome. So guys, it was a bit of a stressful day, I'm not gonna lie. I really wanted to document this for you guys in the most complete and truthful manner that I could, so your expectations are set exactly right. You know what to look out for and what to do when you go to check this out and have a really good time. I've seen some complaints online about how the ride itself is only a minute long, and it is only a minute long, but frankly, knowing that going into it, that it was very short, to me it actually seemed longer than a minute as a result. So that's a good example of, wanting to set your expectations right so you have a good time. Also, I think of a lot of these attractions like sort of like a meal. So if this attraction felt only like an appetizer, it's supposed to be a headline attraction here. So if that was the case, that'd be really bad. It didn't feel that way. It felt like a full meal. And I think it's because you have that awesome launch, you have that canopy area, you have the pre-show, you have a really cool queue there where you walk through the launch area. You definitely feel like you got something for your money here. It is a really cool experience. It's short and sweet. And hopefully Disney fixes some things that I've pointed out in this video between the dirty canopy, some of the bad theme in a few areas, and some of the unclear rules. And then of course you have the lockers. I swear Disney and technology, it's just not a good mix. It's like oil and water. The tickets with the RFIDs, it's always a mess. So our thoughts and prayers are with the cast members that have to spend all day dealing with trying to get those lockers open in the lockers area. And all in all, the ride itself is awesome. You'll love it. It's not too extreme. The launch is pretty intense, but once you get going, you get acclimated to the speed that you're going, and it's lots and lots of fun. Hopefully Disney gets the attraction logistics as smoothed out as they can, because Tron can, in theory, eat up all the guests that Splash used to. Now Splash Mountain is all walled up. It's going to be down for a while. So hopefully Tron will be able to surpass it in terms of the number of guests per hour, so the Magic Kingdom's capacity can stay around the same. But the crucial thing with the Tron Coaster is the loading of each train. If it takes too long because of all these issues where guests can't fit in the vehicles, or people have things that need to go in lockers, or YouTube goofballs have unapproved GoPro mounts, and there's all these extra things that are holding up the launching of the Tron bikes, that impacts the speed at which this attraction can eat up guests, which means that the line moves slower, which means that Disney can only give virtual queue allotments to so many people, less people if they can't can't get the loading figured out here. So these 2 months of previews, it does seem kind of absurd, really 2 months of previews before the official opening, right? It's kind of seems insane, but Disney is still actually doing some construction on this attraction in the exit area and also on the guest flyover walkway at the base of it. There's still entire areas that are blocked off where they're still doing painting and there's construction going on. There's still some work that Disney has to do here. So hopefully these 2 months of previews will pay off for Disney, where they'll get a lot of these issues smoothed out, which will improve how many trains they're able to launch, and then everyone will be on the same page and everyone will know what's going on, and hopefully that means that more of you guys will be able to ride and we'll all be able to get in more rides on Tron. So I highly recommend the Tron Coaster, and make sure just not to blow past all that cool stuff before the attraction itself, because remember, the ride is not very long. The pre-show, the launch room that you walk through, all of that is part of the ride. That is part of the experience. There are a lot of great sights to see on the outside of the Tron attraction as well. Before or after your ride, take a little bit of time under the canopy. There's definitely some, really cool angles, where you can see Space Mountain. And also something I noticed, if you take a look at the sun through the canopy, for some reason, it turns the sun a deep orange. So there's a lot of cool stuff like that, little details that you might notice if you take a little time to check the area out. So take a second, enjoy all of it before you head on with your day. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe with those notifications on, and you'll see more like it in the future. This really is the end of a chapter in Mickey View's history. Tron is opening. I rode the attraction. What's next for Mickey Views? I guess you guys will have to wait and see. Thank you so much for watching. From the Mickey Views Magic Studio, this is Brayden. I'll talk to you soon. Have a magical day.